Good morning. Welcome back to Big Sticks. Today is Wednesday, November 22nd, and I have a ton of turkeys that I need to turn out for people who've ordered from me. So stay tuned, and I'm going to show you how to make turkeys that'll knock the socks off of not just you, but the folks that you have eaten your turkey as well. Okay, what I have here is 9 birds that I'm going to start off smoking initially. I have a total of 22 that I need to turn out. These are the ones that are going on first. They've been sitting in my garage for about 2 hours at room temperature, which is roughly 60 degrees here. Inside the house, it's about 73, so I prefer the lower temperature. We're going to get these on the smoker here in a little bit. They've been brining overnight in a salt, sugar, water, and apple juice solution. What we're going to want to do is dry these out thoroughly. You don't want to stick a wet turkey in your smoker. That's going to drop your temperature down way too much. So I'm just pouring off any remaining brine that might be inside the cavity before I give these a thorough pat dry. Now these two are going to go on the pit barrel, and what I'm going to do is I got these special hooks that you can get from the pit barrel cooker, and I'm going to run this right in between the leg holders. Okay. We're gonna get this other one latched up here. I've let these ignite for about 15 minutes. Okay, so what you may have noticed is that I like to put my wood in there first, and then bury it in the inside the hot coals by putting them on top. What this does is helps prevent flare-ups that might scorch your turkey over this long cook. You don't need much wood in these types of cookers, so don't overdo it. I'm going to let these coals burn for about another 10 minutes to make sure that the top burns down a little bit and ignite the rest of the unlit coals. This is going to help stabilize the temperature inside the cookers. Alright, so they're patted dry. Let's get them lubed up and then seasoned. Just putting a little bit of canola oil here. A little bit of my homemade dry rub. Not too much. I still want this turkey to shine through. Just to accent the flavor of the bird. All right, let's get these turkeys on. Even. close this lid and we're gonna let it roll for a little bit. That's it for the pit barrel. Now for the barrel house, you can only fit one turkey in that one, so that's where we're going with it. Get that one nice and dry. Now for the barrel house, it has a little bit different hanging apparatus. It actually hangs foot first, and you gotta screw it in. Isn't very fast, by the way. Alright, let's get her oiled and seasoned up. This seasoning doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. Sugars tend to scorch. Not much salt either. So a lot of, savory seasonings. I have put a small drip pan in there at the lowest grate setting, just because the manufacturer says to do so. Okay, so here's a quick thing of note. You may notice in the background that the pit barrel cooker actually has smoke coming out of it, whereas the barrel house doesn't. As I said earlier, you have to put a drip pan inside the barrel house, which keeps those drippings that would normally roll off the turkey from going into the coals, which is why I think the pit barrel is probably the superior turkey cooker, because when those drippings hit those coals, it creates a fog inside there, which one, creates humidity, but two, it just permeates the meat with that flavor. In the barrel house, you don't quite get that. You're gonna get that charcoal and wood flavor, but it's not really deep, like the kind that would just stick to your meat when you have that drip pan in there. So, as I said, I think the pit barrel cooker just outdoes and outperforms the barrel house in almost every way. The barrel house does produce some pretty decent meats. It's a good cooker altogether. I like the size. I hear that Pit Barrel has come out with a Pit Barrel Junior. So Noah, if you're listening, I'd like to try that out. So I guess by now you guys are probably all wondering how long it takes to do a cook of about 22 turkeys. Now, for me, that's sort of going to vary, but I'm going to allot myself somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 11 hours. And I'm going to do multiple cooks, of course. That's the only way that's going to happen. As you've noticed, I put 3 whole birds on. And those are for people who I consider to be traditionalists, who want to hover around a turkey on, say, Thanksgiving, where it's still in its full form. But I'm going to show you another way where you can get way more birds on these cookers and still achieve fantastic results. So these turkeys have been cooking for about an hour and a half. I like to check them every hour or so and see where they're at temperature wise. And that's another indicator, you know, of when your turkey is really going to be done. I mean, there's guidelines for time, but at the same time, your turkey is not done until it reaches a specific temperature. The USDA says 165. I tend to take mine up to 170 and still have fantastic results where they're incredibly juicy still. So let's take a look and see where they're at. Pit barrel first. So these have achieved pretty nice color in an hour and a half. All right, let's take a look at the Barrelhouse Cooker's turkey. See where we're at color-wise. Pretty nice color, but not quite as dark as the pit barrel, but again, that's to be expected because, you know, the juices aren't flowing down to the coals, creating that fog, which would in turn permeate the meat. So I like the Barrelhouse. I like its size and portability, but I'd have to say I'm still giving it to the pit barrel. All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. It's time to check the temperature here on these birds inside the pit barrel. I have an instant read thermometer. I'm just going to go in the deepest part of the thigh, see where we're at. Alright, so it looks like we're at 150, so we're coming along quite well. Now, let's check the Barrelhouse cooker. Just gonna go in the breast here. Okay. This one appears to be at 138, so this one's taking longer despite the fact that it cooks at a higher temperature. It's interesting. Once again, giving it up to the pit barrel. Okay, so I've just temped the turkeys out at 170. Those ones in the pit barrel. Now the ones in the Barrelhouse cooker, that one is still sitting at or around 163, which is interesting considering it cooks at a hotter temperature and yet it's taking longer. I have twice as much turkey. They're roughly 13 pounds a piece, and then the one that I have in the Barrelhouse is 12 pounds. And yet I have 2 whole turkeys done in the pit barrel, and I have one that still needs to cook for a little bit longer. Again, I'm at about the 2-hour and 50-minute mark, and I'm done with the 2 13-pound turkeys in the pit barrel. So let's get them off and get them wrapped up. There's one. And here's number 2. So as you can see, beautifully smoked. They're still juicy inside. I just need to take this out. Almost broke the wing off. Don't want to do that. Get you a close look at these turkeys. Those are some beautiful birds, if you ask me. Okay, here comes the Barrelhouse. All right. So this appears to be a beautiful bird too. It's got nice color all the way around. However, it's taken roughly 25 minutes longer than the pit barrel to cook a singular small turkey. One thing of note, at or around the 2-hour mark, I did take that pan out because the temperature in the turkey just wasn't rising. So I took that out so that this thing would get some color too, and you know, create that humidity inside the barrel that I think this turkey absolutely needs in order to get that really smoky flavor. So yeah, I took the pan out. Okay, I hope you guys could see this. I know the lighting isn't that great, the sun's at a bad angle, but what I do is I cut the backbone out of these turkeys and split them right in half. This is going to cut your cooking time down exponentially, and you just really get deep flavor in this. So same thing as before, I'm going to dry it off. I'll dry them off, lube them up, get them seasoned up, get them hung, and that's it. So when I said you get more turkeys in here, I meant it. Right here, I have 4 turkeys worth on the racks. They're spaced pretty good. They're gonna shrink a little, so no worries there. But this is gonna take about maybe 2/3 of the time to cook as opposed to cooking them whole. Okay, now for the barrel house. See? Double the amount of turkey that you can cook. And it doesn't take quite as long. Well, we'll see. The barrel house has been kind of disappointing in terms of its overall cook times. Oh, and don't throw these away. Use those backbones to make your stock for your gravy. And those turkey tails, man, I tell you what, fry them bad boys up. There is not a better chicharron in this world. We are at the 1 hour mark. I just temped these, and they are around 135 degrees after 1 hour. They're light brown right now. Let's check the barrel house cooker. These are a little darker, but they're coming along just fine too. They're tempering at around 135 degrees. I didn't put the tray in there this time, so they're cooking a little faster. So here are the ones that came out of the barrel house. Perfectly cooked. Took 3 hours to cook 2 turkeys, which is about the equivalent of what it took to cook in the pit barrel whole. So these are the ones off of the pit barrel cooker. These took about 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's a markedly different color. It's a little bit lighter, but nevertheless, it's still a beautifully cooked bird. They're so juicy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to cut in these and give you guys a show. These are for sale, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. Okay, guys, that's the end of the cook. I'm no longer gonna keep filming. I got about 12 more birds that I need to knock out. I've cooked 9 in approximately 6 hours. I think I demonstrated that you can maximize the cooker's capacity. Like in the barrel house, you can cook two birds at the same time, and in the pit barrel, you can also cook 4 birds at the same time as opposed to just doing 2. So with that being said, let me just flat out say that the pit barrel kicks ass. That thing just absolutely rocks. It plowed right through the temperatures and just nailed it. Cooked every bird to perfection. The barrel house, on the other hand, I'm a little disappointed in its overall cook times. I am enthused about the color that it tends to lend to the turkeys that you cook, and any meat for that matter. But aside from that, the only other good thing there is to it is that refueling is a breeze. You simply just detach the cooking vessel and then refuel at the fire grates. In the pit barrel, unfortunately, you kind of have to take it apart a little bit, pull out your fire grate, dump out the ash, and then restart the fueling process. But other than that, I think these 2 cookers, they cook equally well. It's a matter of preference, and for me, my preference is the original, the pit barrel. So with that being said, I gotta rock out some more turkeys. I want to thank you guys for subscribing and watching, and I hope this video was informative. With that said, Big Sticks out.